Blood dripped from Tyler Mason's broken fingers onto cold concrete. Each letter cost him everything he had left. SAVEM. 2 words written in a 14-year-old's blood behind a gas station dumpster at 11:47 p.m. His face was so swollen he couldn't see from his left eye. His ribs screamed with every breath. 6 months of torture had brought him to this moment, crawling 20 feet on shattered hands to write a message he didn't believe anyone would read. Then a motorcycle engine cut through the darkness. Then a man in a leather vest dropped to his knees. Then Tyler whispered 7 words that would summon 180 Hell's Angels within the hour. There are 7 more. They're killing them at midnight. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel and follow this story to the end. Comment below with the city you're watching from, so I can see how far this story travels. Jack dropped to his knees so fast the gravel cut through his jeans. He didn't feel it, didn't care. His hands moved on instinct, the muscle memory of 3 combat tours taking over, while his mind tried to process what he was seeing. Hey, stay with me," Jack said, cradling the boy's head. "What's your name, son?" The kid's one working eye focused on Jack's leather vest, on the Hell's Angels patch, on the Montana rocker beneath it. Most people saw that patch and ran the other way. This boy reached for it like a lifeline. "Tyler," he whispered. "Tyler Mason. Please, you have to believe me." "I believe you," Jack said, and he meant it. "Tell me everything." Tyler's cracked lips moved, but no sound came out. His body was shutting down. Dehydration. Blood loss. God knows what else they'd done to him. Jack pulled off his leather jacket and wrapped it around the boy's shaking shoulders. The kid weighed nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like holding a skeleton wrapped in skin. "Water," Jack said. "I'm gonna get you water. Don't move." "No." Tyler grabbed Jack's arm with surprising strength. "Don't leave me. They're still looking. They have trucks. They have guns. If they find me, who's looking for you?" Tyler's eye darted toward the road, toward the darkness beyond the gas station lights, toward something Jack couldn't see, but this boy clearly could. "The compound," Tyler said. "Webb's compound. It's supposed to be a rehabilitation camp for troubled teens. That's what they told my mom. That's what they told all the parents. But it's not. It's not anything like that." Jack felt his blood turn cold. He'd heard rumors about places like that. Boot camps that promised to straighten out difficult kids. Parents paid thousands of dollars, signed over temporary custody, and trusted strangers to fix their children. "How long were you there?" 6 months, maybe longer. I lost track of days. 6 months. This child had been missing for 6 months and no one had found him. "What do they do at the compound, Tyler?" The boy started crying. Not the loud, dramatic crying of someone looking for attention. The silent, hopeless crying of someone who'd learned that making noise only brought pain. "We work," Tyler said. "Underground. In the tunnels. 12 hours a day, sometimes more. They barely feed us. If you slow down, they beat you. If you try to run, they graduate you." "Graduate?" Tyler's whole body shuddered. "That's what they call it. When you're too weak to work anymore. When you're too sick or too broken. They take you to the graduation ceremony, and you don't come back." Jack's hands were shaking now. Not from fear, from rage. The kind of rage that had a heartbeat, that had teeth that wanted to tear something apart. But rage didn't save children. He'd learned that lesson 5 years ago, standing over his own son's grave. Strategy saved children. Evidence saved children. Keeping your head when everything in you wanted to burn the world down. "How many?" Jack asked quietly. How many kids are still there? 7. There were 8 of us, but I got out. I found a hole in the fence during the shift change. I've been running for, I don't know, hours, days. I can't remember. Jack pulled out his phone. His mind was already calculating. Compound location. Armed guards. 7 children. Time. Tyler, I need you to focus. Where exactly is this compound? Miller's Creek, about 40 miles north. There's a sign that says Mountain Ridge Youth Academy, but everyone in town knows to stay away. The sheriff protects them. His brother runs the whole operation. The sheriff, of course. That's how something like this survived. That's how inspections got passed. That's how complaints disappeared. What's the sheriff's name? Webb. Wade Webb. His brother Marcus owns the compound. Jack's jaw tightened. He knew Wade Webb. Not personally, but by reputation. The man had been sheriff of Miller County for 15 years. Untouchable. Connected. The kind of lawman who made sure his friends never faced consequences. Tyler, is there anything else? Anything that could help us prove what's happening there? The boy reached into his pocket with trembling fingers. He pulled out a cracked smartphone held together with tape. I stole this, Tyler said. From Marcus's office, 3 weeks ago. I've been hiding it, waiting for a chance to get out. There's pictures on here, videos, everything. Jack took the phone like it was made of glass. He powered it on, waited for the screen to flicker to life, and felt his stomach drop. The photos showed teenage boys in chains, working in tunnels, covered in dirt and blood. Some of them couldn't have been older than 13. Dear God, Jack breathed. There's more, Tyler said. There's a video from last month, a graduation ceremony. Jack's finger hovered over the video file. He didn't want to see it. He knew what he would find, but he had to know exactly what they were dealing with. He pressed play. The video was dark, grainy shot from a hidden angle, but the audio was clear. A man's voice, cold and businesslike. This one's done. Can't lift the pick anymore. What do you want to do with him? Another voice. Same as always. Take him to the North Mine. Make it quick. A boy's voice, high and terrified. Please, please, I can still work. I'll work harder. Please don't. The video cut out. Jack stopped the recording. His hands were shaking so hard he almost dropped the phone. How many? Jack asked, his voice barely a whisper. How many graduations have there been? I don't know for sure. But there's a wall in the office, with names and dates. I counted 23. 23 children. 23 bodies, somewhere in those mountains. 23 families who never got answers. Jack looked at his watch. 11:52 p.m. Tyler, you said they're killing them at midnight. What did you mean? Tonight's a ceremony, Tyler said, his voice cracking. 3 boys. They've been picking the weakest ones all week, saying they're ready to graduate. I heard Marcus talking about it. Midnight. That's when it happens. 68 minutes. Jack had 68 minutes to do something. He couldn't call the local police. The sheriff was protecting them. State police would take too long to mobilize. FBI. By the time he convinced anyone to take him seriously, those 3 boys would be dead. But Jack Brennan wasn't just a man with a motorcycle and a leather vest. He was Sergeant-at-Arms of the Hells Angels Montana chapter. He had brothers in 4 states who would ride through hell if he asked them to. And right now he was asking. Jack hit speed dial on his phone. Victor Reyes picked up on the second ring. Brother, it's midnight. This better be... Ghost, I need everyone, Jack said, using Victor's road name. Right now. Miller's Creek compound. You know the place. A pause. Then Victor's voice went hard. The youth camp? The one everyone says is dirty, but no one can prove it. I've got proof, pictures, video, and I've got a kid sitting next to me who just escaped. There are 7 more inside. They're going to kill 3 of them in 65 minutes. How many guards? I don't know. Tyler? Jack turned to the boy. How many men does Marcus have? 12 guards during the day shift, maybe 8 at night. Plus Marcus. They all have guns. Jack repeated the information to Victor. That's a lot of firepower, Victor said. I know. We're not soldiers, Jack. We're mechanics and truckers and ex-cons. Some of us are grandfathers. I know. If we ride in there with guns blazing, people are going to die. Maybe us, maybe those kids. That's why we don't go in with guns blazing, Jack said. We go in with cameras, body cameras, phone cameras, every single rider streaming live to the internet. We make it so they can't shoot without the whole world watching. Victor was quiet for a long moment. You sure about this? Jack looked at Tyler, at the blood on his hands, at the hope in his one good eye. Brother, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Give me 20 minutes. I'll have every rider within 100 miles on the road. Victor hung up. Jack turned back to Tyler. Help is coming, Jack said. A lot of help. They won't believe me, Tyler said. Nobody ever believes me. I tried to tell people before. I wrote letters. I tried to get word to my mom. But they intercept everything. And even when someone does ask questions, Marcus has answers. He has paperwork. He has inspectors who sign off on everything. They'll believe you tonight, Jack said. Because tonight we're not asking permission. We're not filing reports. We're showing up with 200 witnesses and a camera in every hand. Tyler started crying again, but this time something else was mixed in with the tears. Hope. Why? Tyler asked. Why would you help me? You don't know me. I'm nobody. I'm just some kid who... Let me tell you something, Jack said, sitting down on the concrete next to him. 5 years ago I had a son. His name was Danny, 15 years old. Smartest kid you ever met. But the kids at school didn't see smart. They saw different. They saw someone they could hurt. And they did. Every day for 3 years. Tyler was listening now. Really listening. Danny tried to tell people, Jack continued. Teachers, counselors. He even went to the principal. But nobody did anything. They said it was just kids being kids. They said he needed to toughen up. They said he was exaggerating. Jack's voice cracked. He wasn't exaggerating. And one day he decided he couldn't take it anymore. He went up to his room and he made a choice I'll never understand. A choice that destroyed his mother. Destroyed me. Destroyed everything we thought we knew about protecting our children. Tyler didn't say anything. He just waited. I couldn't save Danny, Jack said. I failed him. I didn't listen hard enough. I didn't fight hard enough. I believed the people who told me everything was fine because believing them was easier than believing my own son. He turned to look Tyler directly in the eye. I'm not going to fail you. I'm not going to fail those 7 kids in that compound, and I'm not going to spend the rest of my life wondering if I could have done something while 3 more children disappear into a hole in the ground. Tyler reached out and took Jack's hand. Thank you, he said. Thank you for believing me. In the distance, Jack heard the first motorcycle engine, then another, then a sound like thunder rolling across the mountains. Come on, Jack said, helping Tyler to his feet. It's time for you to meet your new family. They walked to the edge of the gas station lot just as the first headlights appeared on the highway. 1 became 2. 2 became 10. 10 became a river of chrome and leather stretching back as far as Jack could see. Victor Reyes pulled up first, cutting his engine and dismounting in one smooth motion. He was 63 years old, gray beard, reading glasses hanging from a chain around his neck. He looked more like someone's grandfather than the president of a motorcycle club. That's because he was someone's grandfather. 4 times over. "This the kid?" Victor asked, looking at Tyler. "This is Tyler Mason. Tyler, this is Ghost. He's in charge." Tyler's eye went wide as more and more riders pulled into the lot. They kept coming. 40. 60. 100. "How many?" Tyler whispered. "As many as it takes," Victor said. He crouched down to Tyler's level. "Son, I need you to tell me everything you told Jack. Every detail. Can you do that?" Tyler nodded. "Good, because in about 40 minutes we're going to ride up to that compound and get your friends out. But I need to know what we're walking into. Numbers, layout, anything that can help us keep everyone safe." While Tyler talked, Jack watched the parking lot fill. He recognized faces, brothers he'd known for years, men he'd trust with his life. Doc Vasquez pulled up on a custom Softail. He was 61, retired Army medic, now ran a free clinic in Billings. He had medical bags strapped to his bike. "Heard we've got kids who need help," Doc said, dismounting. "Brought supplies, trauma kits, IV fluids, whatever they need." Bones Morrison rolled in next. 70 years old, still riding, still mean as a snake when he needed to be. But right now his eyes were soft as he looked at Tyler. "Jesus Christ," Bones muttered. "What did they do to this child?" More riders, more faces. Some of them Jack didn't recognize. Word had spread beyond the chapter. Hell's Angels from Wyoming, from Idaho, from North Dakota. They came anyway. Because that's what Brotherhood meant. Not the stereotype. Not the image Hollywood sold to people who'd never met a real member. But this. Showing up at midnight because a child needed help. Riding through the dark to face armed men because staying home was unthinkable. Victor finished talking to Tyler and walked over to Jack. "It's bad," Victor said quietly. "Worse than I thought." "I know. The sheriff's involved. His brother runs the operation. They've got armed guards and a reputation for making problems disappear. If we go in there, we might not all come out." "I know." Victor studied Jack's face. "You're going anyway. Those are kids, Ghost. Kids who've been abandoned by everyone who was supposed to protect them. If we don't go, nobody goes. And 3 more of them die tonight." Victor nodded slowly. Then he turned to address the assembled riders. The lot was full now. 180 motorcycles. More brothers than Jack had ever seen assembled in one place. "Listen up," Victor shouted. The engines died. The conversation stopped. Every eye turned to their president. "Most of you know why you're here. For those who don't, I'll make it simple. There's a place 40 miles north of here where children are being worked to death and murdered when they can't work anymore. Tonight, 3 more kids are scheduled to die. We're going to stop that from happening." A murmur ran through the crowd. "Now, I'm not going to lie to you," Victor continued. "This is dangerous. The place is guarded by armed men. The local sheriff is protecting them. We ride in there and things could go very wrong very fast." He paused, letting that sink in. "But here's what I know. I know that every man here has worn this patch because he believes in something bigger than himself. I know that most of you have children. Grandchildren. I know that if it were your kid in that compound, you'd want someone to come for them." Victor pointed at Tyler, who was sitting on the tailgate of Jack's truck wrapped in a blanket drinking water, while Doc checked his injuries. "That boy escaped tonight. He crawled through the dark with 2 broken hands to find help. And he found Jack. He found us. Now he's asking us to save his friends. 7 kids who don't have anyone else coming for them." Victor's voice dropped. I'm not ordering anyone to ride tonight. This isn't club business. This is personal. If you need to leave, if you've got family waiting, or health problems, or anything else that makes this too risky, I understand. No shame, no judgment. You can go. Nobody moved. Not one rider. Victor smiled grimly. That's what I thought. All right, here's how this works. No guns. I know some of you are carrying, and I'm not asking you to disarm, but nobody fires first. We're not going in as an army. We're going in as witnesses. But he held up his phone. Every single one of you has a camera. Use it. The moment we hit that compound, I want everything recorded. Every guard, every building, every child we find. We're going to document this so completely that when the FBI shows up, they won't be able to ignore it. Bones raised his hand. What if they shoot first? Then we have 180 witnesses to murder, and every news station in the country has footage of it by morning. Marcus Webb might be willing to kill some kids in the middle of nowhere. Let's see if he's willing to shoot 200 bikers on live video. That got a dark laugh from the crowd. Victor checked his watch. We ride in 15 minutes. That puts us at the compound at 12:03. Jack, you're with me at the front. Doc, I want you and your medical team in the middle of the pack. Everyone else standard formation. Questions? Silence. Good. Get your cameras ready. Get your heads right. And remember why we're doing this. And he pointed at Tyler one more time. That kid wrote "Save me" in his own blood because he had nothing left. He found us. Now let's make sure we're worth finding. The engines roared to life. Jack mounted his bike, feeling the familiar vibration settle into his bones. He'd made this ride 1,000 times, but never like this. Never with this much at stake. Tyler was staying behind with 2 prospects who'd watch over him until it was safe. The boy had tried to argue, wanted to come with them, but Jack wouldn't allow it. You've done enough, Jack told him. You got out, you found help, now let us handle the rest. Tyler grabbed Jack's arm. There's one more thing. I didn't want to say it in front of everyone. What is it? Tyler's voice dropped to a whisper. There's a kid in there named Danny. Danny Brennan. He's been there longer than anyone. 8 months, maybe. The guards call him the Ghost because he barely talks anymore. Just works and sleeps and waits to die. Jack felt the ground shift beneath him. What did you say his name was? Danny Brennan. He's about 17, said his uncle used to ride motorcycles, but that was before his parents gave up on him. Why do you know him? Jack couldn't speak. Danny Brennan. His nephew. His sister's son. The boy who'd been reported as a runaway 8 months ago. The boy the family had searched for, mourned, for given up on. He was alive. He was 40 miles away, waiting to die. And Jack had less than an hour to save him. Jack, Victor's voice cut through the noise. You okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. Jack turned to his president. His brother. His friend. My nephew is in that compound, Jack said, his voice barely audible over the engines. My sister's kid, the one we thought ran away. Victor's face went hard. Then what are we waiting for? The engine screamed. 180 motorcycles pulled onto the highway heading north, heading toward Miller's Creek, heading toward the compound where 7 children waited for salvation or death. And Jack Brennan led them all, tears streaming down his face, riding faster than he'd ever ridden in his life. Because somewhere in the darkness ahead, a boy named Danny was running out of time. And this time Jack wasn't going to fail. The highway stretched 40 miles through darkness, but Jack covered it in 23 minutes. His speedometer touched 90, then 100. Behind him, 180 engines screamed through the Montana night like a war cry from hell itself. Victor pulled alongside him, shouting over the wind. Jack, slow down. We need to arrive together. Jack didn't answer. He couldn't. Every second that passed was a second closer to midnight. Every mile was a mile closer to Danny. His nephew. His blood. The boy he'd taught to ride a bicycle. The boy who used to sit on his lap at family barbecues and beg for stories about the open road. That boy was in a compound full of killers and the clock was ticking. Victor grabbed Jack's handlebar, a dangerous move at this speed. "Brother, listen to me. If you ride in there alone, you're dead. Danny's dead. Everyone's dead. We do this together or we don't do it at all." Jack's hands were shaking on the grips. He forced himself to ease off the throttle. Victor was right. He knew Victor was right. But knowing and feeling were two different things. "How could I not know?" Jack shouted. 8 months, Ghost. 8 months he's been in there. My own nephew. I should have known something was wrong. You thought he ran away. Everyone did. Because his parents told us that. Because my sister said he was troubled out of control, that he needed discipline. She never said she was sending him to a goddamn death camp. Did she know? Jack's stomach turned. That was the question, wasn't it? Did his sister know what Mountain Ridge Youth Academy really was? Or had she been fooled like all the other parents? He didn't have an answer. He wasn't sure he wanted one. The compound appeared in the distance, a cluster of buildings surrounded by chain-link fence topped with razor wire, floodlights illuminating a gravel yard, guard towers at the corners. It looked like a prison, because that's exactly what it was. Victor raised his fist, signaling the riders to slow. The thunder of engines dropped to a rumble as 180 motorcycles rolled to a stop a quarter-mile from the main gate. "Cameras on!" Victor shouted. "Every single one of you, cameras on right now!" Jack pulled out his phone, opened the live stream app, and hit broadcast. Within seconds, 300 viewers connected. Then 1,000. Word was spreading. "Jack, you stay behind me," Victor said. "I know that's hard to hear, but I need you thinking clearly. If Danny's in there, we'll get him out. But not if you charge in like a one-man army. I can't promise that. I'm not asking you to promise. I'm asking you to try." The riders began moving again. Slowly now. Deliberately. A river of chrome and leather flowing toward the compound gates. A spotlight hit them from the guard tower. "Stop right there," a voice over a megaphone. "This is private property. Turn around now." Victor kept riding. The brothers kept riding. Nobody turned around. "I said stop. You are trespassing on private property. We will use lethal force if necessary." Victor raised his hand. The engines died. Silence fell over the Montana mountains like a shroud. In that silence, Victor's voice carried clear and strong. "My name is Victor Reyes. I'm here with 180 witnesses, and every single one of us is streaming live to the internet. Right now, 47,000 people are watching this feed. That number is climbing every second." When he paused to let that sink in. "We're not here to fight. We're not here to cause trouble. We're here because a 14-year-old boy crawled out of your facility tonight with 2 broken hands and blood on his face. He told us there are 7 more children inside who are about to be murdered. We're here to stop that from happening." The megaphone crackled. Then a different voice, calmer, more controlled. "This is Marcus Webb. I own this facility. I don't know what that boy told you, but Mountain Ridge Youth Academy is a state-licensed rehabilitation center. We have passed 11 inspections. We operate in full compliance with Montana law." "Then you won't mind if we come in and verify that," Victor said. "I absolutely do mind. This is private property. You have no legal authority here." "You're right. We don't. But we have cameras. And right now the whole world is watching you decide whether to let us verify that those children are safe or whether to shoot 200 unarmed veterans on live video." Silence. Jack counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3. His hand drifted toward the gun tucked in his waistband. He'd promised not to fire first. He hadn't promised not to fire at all. The gate opened. Marcus Webb walked out. He was younger than Jack expected. Mid-40s, clean-shaven. He wore a pressed button-down shirt and khaki pants like he was heading to a business meeting instead of a confrontation with a motorcycle club. Behind him, 8 guards with rifles. Their faces were hard. Professional. These weren't amateurs. "Let me be very clear," Marcus said, his voice smooth as oil. "You can come in. You can look around. But if you touch anything, if you threaten anyone, if you interfere with our operation in any way, I will have every one of you arrested for trespassing and assault." "Sheriff Webb is already on his way." "Your brother," Victor said. "How convenient." "The law is the law, Mr. Reyes. It protects everyone, even people like you." Victor dismounted. Jack followed. One by one, the brothers left their bikes and walked toward the gate. Marcus watched them come. His face betrayed nothing. But Jack saw his eyes. Those eyes were calculating, measuring, looking for angles. This man wasn't afraid. He should have been. "I want to see the children," Victor said. "All of them, right now." "Of course. Follow me." Marcus turned and walked into the compound. The guards fell in around the bikers' rifles at the ready. Jack felt the weight of their stares. These men had killed before. They would kill again if given the order. But they hadn't been given the order. Not yet. The compound was larger than it looked from outside. Multiple buildings arranged in a rough square. The main building looked administrative, offices and paperwork and the illusion of legitimacy. But Jack wasn't interested in the main building. He was looking at the others. The dormitories, the workshops, the metal structure at the back that didn't match anything else. That one. That's where they're hiding the tunnels. Marcus led them to the nearest dormitory. He opened the door with a flourish like a hotel manager showing off the presidential suite. "As you can see, our residents are all accounted for, sleeping peacefully in their beds." Jack pushed past him. The room was clean. 8 beds neatly made. 8 boys sitting up, looking confused and frightened by the sudden intrusion. But something was wrong. Jack had spent enough time around trauma victims to recognize the signs. These boys weren't just surprised. They were terrified. And their terror wasn't directed at the bikers. It was directed at Marcus. "It's okay," Jack said, crouching next to the nearest bed. "We're not going to hurt you. We're here to help. Is anyone injured? Is anyone sick?" The boy looked at Marcus, then back at Jack. His mouth opened. "Don't," Marcus said quietly. "Remember what happens to boys who tell lies." The boy's mouth closed. Jack stood slowly. His hands were fists at his sides. "Let me explain something to you," Jack said, his voice dangerously calm. "There are 47,000 people watching this right now. Whatever you do in the next few minutes, the whole world is going to see it. So choose very carefully what you say and do." He turned to the boys. "You don't have to be afraid anymore. Whatever they told you, whatever they threatened you with, it's over. There are 180 of us and 8 of them. Nobody is going to hurt you. I promise." Silence. Then one boy, smaller than the others, raised his hand. "Are you really Hell's Angels?" Jack nodded. "We are." "Tyler said if he could get out, he'd find help. He said he'd find someone who wasn't afraid of them. He said angels would come." The boy started crying. "He was right. You came. You actually came." That broke the dam. The boys started talking all at once. Stories poured out. Beatings, starvation, forced labor in the tunnels, the graduation ceremonies that nobody came back from. Marcus's face went pale. These children are troubled, he said quickly. They have histories of lying. It's part of their pathology. That's why they were sent here in the first place. Really? Victor pulled out Tyler's phone. Then, explain this. He hit play on the video, the one Tyler had recorded through the heating vent, the one where Marcus and his guards discussed killing a boy who couldn't work anymore. Marcus's voice clear as day. Take him to the North Mine. Make it quick. The color drained from Marcus's face completely. That's taken out of context. We were discussing a sick animal, a horse that had to be put down. A horse named Michael, Victor asked. A horse that said, "Please don't," before it died. One of the guards shifted uncomfortably. Then another. These men were loyal, but not stupid. They could see where this was heading. Jack, Victor said quietly. Check the metal building in the back. Jack didn't need to be told twice. He moved toward the door, but Marcus stepped into his path. That building is off limits. It contains expensive equipment, industrial machinery. It's dangerous for untrained. Jack walked through him. Not around. Through. His shoulder hit Marcus's chest and sent the man stumbling backward. Two guards raised their rifles, but Victor was already between them. 53,000 viewers now, Victor said conversationally. You want to shoot a grandfather on camera, go ahead. Make us all famous. The guards lowered their weapons. Jack crossed the compound to the metal building. The door was padlocked. He didn't bother looking for a key. He kicked it once, twice, and on the third kick the frame splintered, inside a staircase leading down. Bones Dock with me. The three men descended into darkness. Jack pulled out his phone, using the flashlight to illuminate the path. The smell hit him first. Sweat and fear and something worse. Something that reminded him of the mass graves he'd helped excavate in Iraq. The stairs ended in a tunnel. Low ceiling, dirt walls, barely enough room to stand upright. And there in the dim glow of work lights, 7 boys with pickaxes in their hands. They wore rags. Their faces were hollow. Some of them could barely stand. Oh my God, Doc breathed behind him. Everyone stop working, Jack shouted. Drop your tools, we're here to get you out. The boys didn't move. They stared at Jack with expressions he recognized all too well. The blank look of people who'd stopped believing rescue was possible. It's okay, Jack said softer now. It's over. Nobody's going to hurt you anymore. One boy stepped forward. Tall, thin, dark hair matted with dirt. You're lying, he said. You're with them. This is a test. They want to see if we'll try to escape so they can punish us. I'm not with them. That's what they always say. They send people down here pretending to be friendly. Then when we talk, when we tell the truth, they beat us. Jack's heart was breaking. Son, what's your name? Why do you care? Because I'm looking for someone. Someone I should have been looking for a long time ago. The boy's eyes narrowed. Who? My nephew. Danny Brennan. The tunnel went silent. The tall boy took a step back. His face changed. Fear. Then confusion. Then something that might have been hope fighting its way through layers of trauma. Uncle Jack. Jack felt his knees buckle. Danny. Oh God, Danny. He moved forward, arms open, but Danny flinched away. Don't touch me. Jack stopped. His arms fell to his sides. Okay, Danny. I won't touch you. I'm sorry. I should have asked. Danny was shaking now, his whole body vibrating like a plucked string. You're not real, Danny said. I've dreamed this before, hundreds of times. Someone comes to rescue me, and then I wake up and I'm still here, still digging, still waiting to die. This isn't a dream, son. That's what you always say. In the dream, you always say that. Jack turned to Bones and Doc. Get these kids out of here, all of them, right now. What about you? I need a minute. The other men began shepherding the boys toward the stairs. Some walked, some had to be carried. Doc was already on his phone calling for ambulances. When they were alone, Jack knelt on the tunnel floor. He kept his distance from Danny. Didn't try to touch him. Just talked. Your mom sent you here, Jack said. She thought she was helping you. She thought this place would straighten you out. She didn't know Danny. She had no idea. Danny laughed. It was an ugly sound. She signed the papers. She paid the money. She let them take me. I know. And I know that's hard to forgive. Maybe you never will. But right now that doesn't matter. What matters is getting you out of this hole and into a hospital. Why should I trust you? Because I'm your family. Family is who sent me here. Jack closed his eyes. He deserved that. His sister deserved that. The whole family deserved it. You're right. You're absolutely right. But Danny, I spent 5 years living with regret because I didn't listen to my own son when he needed me. I lost him. I buried him. And I swore I would never let another kid suffer because I was too blind or too busy to pay attention. He opened his eyes. I'm paying attention now. Whatever you need, whatever it takes, I'm here. Even if you hate me. Even if you never forgive any of us. I'm still here. Danny stared at him for a long time. Then his face crumbled. The armor cracked. The walls fell. And beneath all that hardness was a 17-year-old boy who'd survived 8 months of hell and desperately wanted to believe that someone still cared. I can't walk, Danny whispered. My legs. Something's wrong with them. They stopped working right about a month ago. Jack felt rage surge through him. Pure, blinding rage. But he kept his voice calm. That's okay. I'm going to carry you. Is that all right? Danny nodded. Jack moved forward slowly, carefully. He wrapped his arms around his nephew and lifted him. Danny weighed nothing. Absolutely nothing. I've got you, Jack said. I've got you, son. They emerged from the tunnel to chaos. Sheriff Wade Webb had arrived with 6 deputies. They were facing off against Victor and the brothers shouting about trespassing and illegal entry and arrest warrants. But the cameras were still rolling. 68,000 viewers now. The number climbed every second. And around the compound, 7 emaciated boys were being wrapped in blankets and loaded into the trucks that brothers had driven in behind the motorcycles. Sheriff Webb saw Jack carrying Danny and froze. Put that boy down. You're under arrest for... This boy is my nephew, Jack said, his voice cutting through the noise. His name is Danny Brennan. His parents paid $30,000 to send him to your brother's rehabilitation camp 8 months ago. He just told me his legs stopped working a month ago, and nobody did anything about it. He weighs maybe 90 pounds. He's been working in an underground mine 12 hours a day for the better part of a year. Jack kept walking. So if you want to arrest me, Sheriff, you go right ahead. But you better do it on camera. Because right now, 68,000 people are watching you decide whether to protect these children or protect your brother. Wade Webb looked at the cameras, at the witnesses, at the video evidence still playing on phones around the compound. His face went through a remarkable transformation. Arrogance to uncertainty to fear. He knew. He knew it was over. I had no knowledge of any of this, Wade said quickly. If my brother was engaged in illegal activities, I was completely unaware. Save it for the FBI, Victor said. They're already on their way. Marcus Webb made a break for it. He shoved past 2 guards and ran toward the back fence where an ATV was parked near the motor pool. He made it 30 feet. Then, Bones Morrison, 70 years old, with a bad hip and a worse temper, clotheslined him with one arm. Marcus hit the ground hard. Before he could move, 6 brothers were on him. "Don't kill him," Victor shouted. "We need him alive for testimony." Marcus struggled. He screamed about lawyers and lawsuits and how they'd all rot in prison. Nobody listened. Jack kept walking toward the trucks, Danny in his arms. Behind him, the compound descended into chaos. Guards surrendering, deputies arguing, the sheriff frantically making phone calls that nobody was answering. "Is it really over?" Danny asked, his voice barely a whisper. "It's really over. What happens now?" "Hospital, doctors, recovery, whatever you need for as long as you need it. Will you stay?" Jack looked down at his nephew, at the boy he'd failed, the boy he'd found, the boy who was still asking, even after everything, if someone would stay. "I'm not going anywhere," Jack said. "Not ever again." In the distance, sirens. Real ones this time, FBI, state police, the cavalry that arrived too late to matter but right on time for cleanup. And somewhere in the mountains above the compound, Tyler Mason was watching on his phone, watching the brothers keep their promise, watching angels descend on a place where hope had gone to die. He was still watching when the last child was loaded into a truck. He was still watching when Marcus and Wade Webb were placed in handcuffs. And he was still watching when Jack Brennan carried his nephew past the broken gates and into the first sunrise Danny had seen in 8 months. The sun rose over Montana like a promise, like a prayer answered, like proof that sometimes when you write "Save me" in your own blood and throw yourself on the mercy of strangers, those strangers turn out to be exactly who you needed. 180 angels, riding through the dark, coming to save children nobody else would save. The hospital waiting room filled with leather vests and exhaustion. 43 brothers refused to leave until they knew every child was stable. They sprawled across plastic chairs, leaned against walls, spoke in low voices, while nurses pretended not to stare. Jack hadn't moved from his seat outside Danny's room in 4 hours. Victor brought him coffee. Black. Bitter. Jack didn't drink it. "Doc says Danny's legs might recover," Victor said, sitting down beside him. "Nerve damage from malnutrition. With proper treatment, physical therapy, there's a good chance he'll walk again." "A good chance. Better than no chance, brother." Jack stared at the closed door. Behind it, his nephew was undergoing tests, scans, blood work. The doctors needed to assess 8 months of damage to a body that had been systematically broken. "I need to call my sister," Jack said. "You sure you want to do that right now?" "No, but she needs to know her son is alive." Victor handed him his phone. Jack's had died hours ago. He dialed Sarah's number from memory. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Hello?" Her voice was thick with sleep. It was 6 in the morning. "Sarah, it's Jack." "Jack, why are you calling at this hour? Did something happen?" Jack closed his eyes. How do you tell someone that the decision they made to help their child almost killed him? How do you deliver news that's both miraculous and damning at the same time? "I found Danny." Silence. "Sarah, did you hear me?" "That's not funny, Jack. Danny ran away. He's been gone for 8 months. The police couldn't find him. Private investigators couldn't find him. You making jokes about he didn't run away." "What? Danny didn't run away, Sarah. He was at the compound. The rehabilitation camp you sent him to. Mountain Ridge Youth Academy. He's been there the whole time." More silence. Then a sound Jack recognized. The sound of a mother's heart breaking. "That's impossible. We sent him there for 3 months. The program ended in June. They told us he ran away during a hiking exercise. They said they lied. No, they had police reports. Search teams. They said they spent weeks looking for him. Sarah, I'm sitting in a hospital in Billings right now. Danny is in a room 20 feet away from me. He can barely walk. He weighs 90 pounds. He's been working in an underground mine for 8 months, while the people you paid told you he was missing." Sarah started crying. Hard, ugly sobs that came through the phone like physical blows. "I didn't know," she said between gasps. "Jack, I swear to God I didn't know. I thought I was helping him. He was so angry all the time, getting into fights at school, smoking, staying out all night. I didn't know what else to do." "I know. Tom said it would be good for him. Tom said the structure would help. He found the program online. The reviews were so good. All those parents saying it saved their children." "Where's Tom now?" He's in bed. Jack, is Danny okay? Is my baby okay?" Jack thought about the boy he'd carried out of that tunnel. The hollow eyes. The flinch when anyone came close. The legs that didn't work anymore. "He's alive," Jack said. "That's what matters right now. I'm coming. I'm getting on a plane right now. I need to see him. I need to—" "Sarah." Jack's voice was harder than he intended. "When you get here, Danny might not want to see you. You need to prepare yourself for that." "Why wouldn't he want to see me? I'm his mother. I love him. I've been mourning him for months. I thought he was dead or worse. Why wouldn't he? Because you sent him there. You signed the papers. You paid the money. And for 8 months while he was being starved and beaten and worked nearly to death, he believed his parents had abandoned him." Sarah made a sound like a wounded animal. "I didn't know," she whispered. "Jack, I didn't know." "I believe you. But Danny might need time to believe it too. So when you come ready to hear things you don't want to hear. You come ready to apologize without defending yourself. You come ready to let your son be angry because he has every right to be." Okay, I understand. I'll get the first flight out, Jack." "Yeah. Thank you. For finding him. For saving him. Thank you." Jack hung up without answering. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt like a man who'd stumbled into something terrible and done the bare minimum any decent person would do. The door to Danny's room opened. A doctor stepped out. Young, tired. His scrubs were wrinkled, and his eyes had that glazed look of someone who'd seen too much in the past few hours. "Mr. Brennan," Jack stood. "How is he?" "Stable. The malnutrition is severe but reversible with proper care. His legs show signs of peripheral neuropathy likely caused by vitamin deficiencies. We'll need to start him on supplements and physical therapy, but I'm optimistic about his recovery." "Can I see him?" "He's asking for you. But Mr. Brennan, I need to warn you. Danny's physical injuries will heal. The psychological damage is going to take much longer. He's been through something no child should ever experience. He's going to need extensive trauma therapy. And he's going to need people around him who are patient, consistent, and prepared for setbacks." "I'm not going anywhere." The doctor nodded. "He said you'd say that. Go on in. Just be gentle. And be ready. Sometimes survivors need to tell their stories before they can start healing." Jack pushed open the door. Danny was propped up in bed, an IV in his arm monitors, tracking his vitals. He looked small against the white sheets. Fragile. Nothing like the confident teenager Jack remembered from family gatherings. "Hey," Jack said softly. "Hey." Jack pulled a chair close to the bed and sat down. He didn't reach for Danny's hand, didn't try to hug him, just sat there present, waiting. "I called your mom," Jack said. Danny's face flickered. Pain. Anger. Something deeper. "What did she say?" "She's coming. First flight she can get." "I don't want to see her." "I told her you might feel that way." "She sent me there, Uncle Jack. Her and Tom. They signed me over like I was a package they wanted returned to sender." "I know. They believed those people over me. When I called home the first week and said something was wrong, Mom told me I was being dramatic. She said I needed to trust the process. She said—" Danny's voice cracked. "She said maybe this would finally teach me some respect." Jack felt his jaw tighten. He hadn't known about the phone call. Sarah hadn't mentioned that part. "What happened after that call? Marcus took my phone. Said I'd lost privileges. Said contact with family was a reward for good behavior and I hadn't earned it yet." Danny laughed bitterly. "That was the last time I talked to anyone outside the compound until tonight. Danny, I need to ask you something. It's important." "What? The other boys? The ones who were there before you? The ones who graduated? Do you know where they are?" Danny went pale. His hands started shaking. "You found out about that? Tyler told us. The graduation ceremonies, the boys who disappeared. We need to find them, Danny. Their families need to know what happened." Danny closed his eyes. When he opened them again, tears were streaming down his face. "The North Mine. That's where they took them. I heard the guards talking about it. They said there were tunnels up there that hadn't been used in 50 years. Nobody would ever look there." "How many?" "I don't know, a lot. More than 20. They had a board in Marcus's office with names crossed off, like a scorecard, like they were proud of it." Jack felt sick. 20+ children, buried in abandoned mine shafts, families who never got answers, parents who spent years hoping their troubled kids would come home, never knowing they were already dead. "I'm going to tell the FBI," Jack said. "They need to start searching." "There's something else." Danny grabbed Jack's arm. "Something I didn't tell anyone. Something I was too scared to say." "What is it?" Marcus wasn't alone. He had partners, people who bought boys from him, people who paid money to— Danny couldn't finish. His whole body was shaking now. Jack felt the rage building again. That cold, murderous rage that had nearly consumed him in the compound. Paid money to what, Danny? To use us. Some of the boys who graduated didn't die in the mines. They got sold. To men who wanted things I can't talk about. I saw it happen. I saw them take boys away in vans, and those boys never came back either. Jack couldn't breathe. Trafficking. Not just forced labor. Human trafficking. "Do you know who these people were, the buyers?" "I know one of them." Danny's voice dropped to a whisper. "I saw him at the compound 3 weeks ago. He was with Marcus looking at the new boys, deciding who he wanted." "Who was it?" "I recognized him from TV, from the news. He's a judge, Judge something. I can't remember his first name. But Marcus called him Judge Harrison." The room went cold. Judge Robert Harrison. Chief Judge of the Montana Supreme Court, the man who'd been on the news last month talking about judicial reform and protecting families. That man was buying children from a death camp. "Danny, are you absolutely sure?" "I'm sure. He looked right at me. He asked Marcus how much for the tall one with dark hair. Marcus said I wasn't for sale, said I was a good worker and he needed me in the tunnels. The judge laughed and said, 'Maybe next time.'" Danny's voice broke completely. "He laughed, Uncle Jack, like I was a car he wanted to test drive." Jack stood up slowly. "I need to make some calls." "Don't leave me alone." "I won't." Jack walked to the door and signaled to Victor. Ghost, get in here. Now. Victor entered the room, took one look at Jack's face, and closed the door behind him. What happened? Danny just told me something that changes everything. Marcus wasn't just running a labor camp, he was selling children to buyers, rich, powerful buyers who wanted boys for other purposes. Victor's expression went stone cold. Names. One name. Judge Robert Harrison, Chief Judge of the Montana Supreme Court. Victor was silent for 5 full seconds. Are you sure? Danny saw him at the compound 3 weeks ago. Harrison was shopping. Jesus Christ. It gets worse. The boys who got sold never came back. They're not in the North Mine with the others. They're just gone. Disappeared into a system we didn't even know existed. Victor ran his hand through his hair. If Harrison is involved, then who else judges don't operate alone? They have friends, colleagues, people who protect each other. Exactly. Jack, this goes way beyond what we came here to do. We saved 7 boys and exposed a death camp. That's incredible. But if we start digging into trafficking networks that reach into the judiciary, we're playing a different game entirely. A dangerous game. You suggesting we walk away? I'm suggesting we be careful. Harrison has power, resources. If he gets wind that we know about him, he'll use everything he has to shut us down, discredit us, maybe worse. Danny saw what he saw. Other boys saw it too. Tyler might know something. Evidence doesn't just disappear because a judge wants it to. Victor looked at Danny, who was watching them with exhausted eyes. Kid, I need to ask you something. And I need you to be completely honest. Do you have any proof, anything physical that connects Harrison to the compound? Danny thought for a moment. The phone, Tyler's phone. He recorded a lot of stuff, audio mostly, and I know Marcus kept records. Real records, not the fake ones he showed inspectors. He kept them in a safe in his office. He bragged about it once, said if anyone ever tried to take him down, he'd take them with him. Did the FBI get the safe? I don't know. It was hidden, behind a panel in the wall. You had to know where to look. Victor pulled out his phone. I've got to make a call. Jack, stay with him. He stepped into the hallway. Through the door, Jack could hear him talking rapidly to someone, his voice urgent. Danny, Jack said, sitting back down. I need you to understand something. What you just told us could put very powerful people in prison for the rest of their lives. That makes you a witness, an important one, and important witnesses sometimes become targets. You think someone will try to hurt me? I think we need to be prepared for anything. From this moment on, you don't go anywhere without protection. You don't talk to anyone unless you trust them completely. And if anyone approaches you claiming to be a lawyer, a journalist, or any kind of official, you call me first. Danny nodded slowly. I'm scared, Uncle Jack. I know, but here's the thing about fear. It means you're paying attention. It means you understand what's at stake. Fear isn't weakness. Fear is intelligence. And you've shown more intelligence and courage in the past 8 months than most people show in a lifetime. The door burst open. Victor's face was gray. We have a problem. What? The FBI team that secured the compound, their lead agent just got a call from Washington. They're being pulled off the case. What do you mean, pulled off? I mean, someone with a lot of juice made a phone call to someone at DOJ, and now the entire investigation is being transferred to a special unit. A unit that doesn't exist in any public database. Jack felt his stomach drop. They're burying it. They're trying to, but here's the thing. Before the call came in, 2 of our brothers managed to get into Marcus's office. They found the panel. They found the safe. And they couldn't open it, but they photographed it. They documented its location. And they made sure the local cops knew about it before the FBI could make it disappear. Will that be enough? It might be. If the local DA has any spine at all, he can demand access to that safe as evidence in the state charges. The feds can't override state jurisdiction on kidnapping and murder. But Harrison is chief judge of the state Supreme Court. He controls every judge beneath him. Victor smiled grimly. Not every judge. The local DA in Miller County is a woman named Patricia Chen. She's been fighting corruption in this state for 15 years. Harrison tried to get her removed 3 times. She's still here. And she's already on her way to the compound. A knock on the door. One of the prospects poked his head in. Ghost. There's some FBI agents in the lobby asking questions. They want to know who authorized the raid. Tell them to pound sand. They're being pretty aggressive. Then tell them 180 witnesses are prepared to testify that we observed criminal activity and intervened to save children's lives. Everything we did was legal. Everything was documented. If they want to charge someone, they can start with Marcus Webb and work their way up. The prospect nodded and disappeared. Jack looked at Victor. They're going to try to make us the story. Biker gang raids rehabilitation facility. That's the headline they'll push. Let them try. We have the videos. We have the photos. We have 7 traumatized children and the testimony of everyone who worked in that compound. They can spin all they want. Truth has a way of coming out. Danny spoke up from the bed. Tyler kept a journal. I just remembered. He wrote down everything that happened to him. Every day. In code so the guards wouldn't understand if they found it. He showed me once. It's hidden in the basement of his house, under a loose floorboard in his room. When Jack and Victor exchanged looks. We need to get that journal before anyone else does. I'll send Bones and 2 others. Tyler's mother is still at the hotel with him. We'll explain the situation. If she agrees, we retrieve the journal and put it somewhere safe. Somewhere no FBI agent can accidentally lose it. Exactly. Victor's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his expression changed. It's Patricia Chen, the DA. He answered. Jack watched his face as he listened, saw hope and anger war for dominance. Understood. We'll be there. He hung up. She's at the compound. She's seen the tunnels, and she just called a press conference for 8 o'clock this morning. What's she going to say? She's going to announce that the state of Montana is opening a criminal investigation into Mountain Ridge Youth Academy, murder, kidnapping, child trafficking, and she's naming names. Harrison, not yet. She's smart. She's building her case piece by piece. But she told me something off the record. The safe in Marcus's office. The local sheriff opened it before the FBI could stop him. One of our brothers convinced him it was the right thing to do. What was inside? Victor's voice dropped. Ledgers, financial records going back 7 years, names, dates, amounts, every transaction, every buyer, every victim. Jack closed his eyes. How many? 47 boys, sold over 7 years, 23 killed in the mines, 47 sold to buyers across 6 states, 70 victims total, and Jack Harrison's name appears in those ledgers 14 times. Danny made a sound, small, broken. 14 boys, Danny whispered. He bought 14 boys. He's never going to hurt anyone again, Jack said. None of them are. This ends now. How can you be sure he's a judge? He has power. He has friends. Jack knelt beside the bed and looked his nephew in the eye. Because the whole world is watching now. Because those videos have been seen by 2 million people and counting. Because every news station in the country is sending reporters to Montana. And because 70 families are about to find out what happened to their children. That's an army, Danny. An army of grief and rage and demand for justice. No judge, no matter how powerful, can stand against that. Danny searched his uncle's face. Do you really believe that? I have to. Because the alternative is believing that monsters like Harrison and Marcus can do whatever they want and never face consequences. And I've seen too much of this world to believe that's how the story ends. Victor's phone buzzed again. He checked the message, and his face went tight. Jack, we need to go. Now. What happened? Pete Holloway, the guard who opened the gate for us. He's asking to talk. He says he has information about Harrison. Information that wasn't in the ledgers. Well, what kind of information? He says he knows where the sold boys were taken. He knows the locations, the houses. He's been keeping track for 2 years because he was planning to blow the whistle. But he was too scared. He says he'll only talk to you. Jack looked at Danny. I'll stay with him, Victor said. Bones is on his way back. We'll have 6 brothers here within the hour. I don't want you to go, Danny said. I know, but Danny, there are 47 boys out there. Boys who were sold like you almost were. If Pete knows where they are, I have to find out. I have to try to save them, too. Danny was quiet for a long moment. That's what you do, isn't it? Save kids. I try. Because you couldn't save your son. The words hit Jack like a physical blow. Yeah, he said quietly. Because I couldn't save my son. Danny reached out and took Jack's hand. It was the first time he'd initiated contact since the tunnel. Then go. Save them. Come back when you're done, when Jack squeezed his nephew's hand. I'll be back before dinner. I promise. He walked out of the room, through the waiting area filled with brothers, past the FBI agents who watched him with barely concealed hostility, and out into the Montana morning. Pete Holloway was waiting in the parking lot, handcuffed in the back of a police car. He was young, 23. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. The deputy guarding him nodded at Jack. DHN said to give you 5 minutes. Make them count. Jack climbed into the back seat. Talk. Pete's eyes were red. Tears had carved tracks through the dirt on his face. I never heard any of them. I swear to God. I was just a guard. I watched the perimeter. I never touched a single kid. But you knew what was happening. I knew. And I was a coward. I told myself I was gathering evidence. I told myself I'd turn them in when I had enough proof. But really, I was just scared. Scared of Marcus. Scared of the sheriff. Scared of what would happen to me if I talked. So why are you talking now? Because of what happened tonight. Because you came. You actually came. All those people watching online, all those brothers who showed up without even knowing those kids. I spent 2 years convincing myself that nobody cared, that the system was too broken, that speaking up wouldn't matter. And then you proved me wrong. Jack studied the young man's face, saw the guilt, the shame, the desperate need for redemption. The boys who were sold. Do you know where they are? Pete nodded. Some of them. Not all. Harrison kept most of his at a ranch property about 40 miles east of here. Called it his hunting lodge. But he didn't use it for hunting. At least not for animals. Jack felt the rage surge again. How many boys are at this ranch right now? I don't know for sure, but when I left the compound last week, Harrison had just placed an order for 2 more. He was supposed to pick them up tomorrow. Those boys are in the hospital now. Then he's going to be angry, really angry. And when Harrison gets angry, people disappear. We need to get to that ranch before he does, before he has a chance to clean up his mess. Jack pulled out his phone. Give me the address. Pete gave it. Jack sent it to Victor, to Patricia Chen, to every brother who was still mobile. One more thing, Pete said. Harrison isn't going to go down without a fight. He has connections everywhere, federal judges, senators, people who've been to his parties who know what he does, who look the other way because he has dirt on them too. What kind of dirt? Photos, videos. Everyone who attended his events, everyone who participated, he documented it. Insurance, he called it. Makes sure nobody ever turns on him because they're all guilty too. Where does he keep this documentation? Pete hesitated. There's a server room, in the basement of the ranch. Everything's stored there. If you can get to that server before he destroys it, we can bring down everyone. Yes. Jack opened the car door. You did the right thing, Pete. Finally. It doesn't feel that way. It will. Eventually. When those boys are safe and the men who hurt them are in prison, it'll feel different. He stepped out of the car and walked toward his motorcycle. Behind him, the hospital rose against the morning sky. Inside, 7 boys were being treated for injuries that would take years to heal. Around the country, families were learning the truth about children they'd mourned. And 40 miles east, more boys waited for a salvation they probably didn't believe would ever come. Jack started his engine. He'd made a promise to Danny. Back before dinner. He intended to keep it. 40 miles turned into 35 minutes of hard riding. Jack pushed his bike faster than safe, faster than smart, but the clock in his head wouldn't stop ticking. Every minute Harrison had was a minute to destroy evidence, to move boys, to disappear. 12 brothers rode behind him, not the full 180. Most were still at the hospital or scattered across 3 counties documenting everything they'd witnessed. But 12 was enough. 12 had to be enough. Victor's voice crackled through the Bluetooth earpiece. Jack Patricia Chen is mobilizing state troopers. They'll be at the ranch in 40 minutes. We don't have 40 minutes. I know, but you need to be careful. If you go in there before law enforcement arrives and something goes wrong, define wrong. Harrison has security, real security, ex-military types, not the amateur guards Marcus used. Then we'll have to be smarter than them. Jack, there are kids in there, Ghost. Kids who've been through God knows what. Every minute we wait is a minute they suffer. I didn't wait at the compound. I'm not waiting now. Victor was silent for a moment. Just don't get killed. Danny needs you to come back. I know. The ranch appeared on the horizon. From a distance, it looked legitimate. A wealthy man's retreat. The kind of place Montana attracted. Rich people buying their slice of Western paradise. But Jack knew what paradise hid. He slowed his bike 300 yards from the main gate. The brothers pulled up beside him. Bones, take 4 men around the east side. Doc, you and 3 others cover the west. I'm going through the front. Alone, Bones growled. That's suicide. Not alone. I'm going with a camera and 2 million people watching. Harrison's whole game depends on secrecy. The moment this goes live, his power evaporates. Jack pulled out his phone and started streaming. The viewer count jumped immediately. Word had spread. People were waiting. My name is Jack Brennan, he said into the camera. 6 hours ago, we rescued 7 boys from a forced labor camp run by Marcus Webb. During that rescue, we learned that boys from that camp were being sold to wealthy buyers. One of those buyers is Judge Robert Harrison, Chief Judge of the Montana Supreme Court. I'm standing outside his property right now. State police are on their way, but I'm not waiting for them, because there may be children inside who need help right now. He tucked the phone into his vest pocket camera facing outward. Let's go. The gate was locked. Electronic. No guard visible. Jack didn't bother looking for a buzzer. He pulled the bolt cutters from his saddlebag and went to work. This is private property. A voice from a speaker. You are trespassing. Leave immediately or face prosecution. Jack ignored it. The lock gave way. The gate swung open. I said leave, security has been dispatched. Good, Jack said loudly enough for the camera to pick up. I'd love to meet them. He walked through the gate, brothers fanning out behind him, according to plan. His heart was pounding, but his hands were steady. He'd done this before. Different country, different enemy. Same mission. Save the ones who couldn't save themselves. The first guard appeared from behind a utility building. Big man, professional stance, hand on his holstered weapon. Stop right there. Get on the ground. Now! Jack kept walking. Sir, I will use force if necessary. Go ahead. Jack pointed to his vest. 112,000 people are watching right now. You want to be the guy who shoots an unarmed veteran on live stream? The guard's eyes flicked to the camera. His hand hesitated on his weapon. I'm calling the police. Great idea. Call them. Tell them Jack Brennan from the Hells Angels is here to collect evidence of child trafficking. Tell them Judge Harrison is implicated. See how fast they hang up. The guard's face changed. Doubt crept in. He pulled out his phone and made a call. Jack kept walking. A second guard appeared. Then a third. They formed a line between Jack and the main building. You need to stop, sir. This is your final warning. Jack stopped. Not because they told him to. Because he heard something. A voice. High, terrified. Coming from inside the building. Help somebody help us. Jack's blood went cold. You hear that? He said loud enough for the camera. That's a child screaming for help. You want to tell me again about trespassing? The guards exchanged glances. One of them stepped forward. Older. Maybe late 40s. Something in his eyes that looked almost like relief. I'm not dying for this, he said quietly. I signed up for security work, not whatever this is. He stepped aside. One by one, the other guards followed. They didn't drop their weapons. They didn't help. But they didn't stop him either. Jack ran. The building's front door was unlocked. He pushed through and found himself in a hallway. Expensive art on the walls. Polished floors. The veneer of respectability covering rot. Help, please. The voice came from below. A basement. Of course, they always hid the worst things underground. Jack found the door, locked, heavy, reinforced. Bones, I need you. 30 seconds later, Bones appeared with a pry bar and 2 brothers behind him. Stand back. They hit the door together. Once, twice. On the third strike, it buckled. Stairs led down into darkness. Jack descended first. His phone's flashlight cut through the black. Behind him, footsteps. Brothers who'd walk into hell beside him without asking why. The basement opened into a series of rooms. Each one locked. Each door with a small window. Jack looked through the first window and felt his soul crack. A boy. Maybe 14. Curled in the corner of an empty room. Thin. Dirty. Eyes that held nothing but terror. We're getting you out, Jack said through the door. Can you hear me? Help is here. The boy didn't move. Didn't respond. Just stared. Bones, break it down! The door gave way. Jack moved to the next one. Another boy. Younger. Maybe 12. This one was crying. How many? Doc asked, his voice tight. I don't know. Keep going. They worked through the hallway. 6 rooms, 6 boys, all of them in various states of trauma and malnutrition, all of them too broken to understand that rescue had finally come. Get them upstairs, Jack ordered. Fresh air, water, blankets, whatever you can find. Where are you going? Pete said there's a server room down here. Evidence that can bring down everyone involved. I need to find it before Harrison's people can wipe it. Jack moved deeper into the basement. The hallway turned. Another door. This one was different. Metal. Serious. Behind him, footsteps. Not his brothers. These were lighter. Faster. He turned. A woman stood in the hallway. 50s. Well-dressed. Perfectly composed despite the chaos upstairs. You must be Jack Brennan. Who are you? My name is Catherine Harrison. Robert is my husband. Jack's hand moved toward his waistband. I'm not armed. Catherine said. "And I'm not here to stop you." "Then why are you here?" "Because I've been waiting for this day for 11 years. Jack studied her face, saw something unexpected. Not fear, not anger. Relief. 11 years, Catherine continued. That's how long I've known what my husband really is. That's how long I've been gathering evidence. That's how long I've been too terrified to do anything with it. Why tell me this now? Because you've given me something I never had before. Witnesses. 2 million of them and counting. Robert can't make this disappear. He can't make me disappear. Not anymore. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a key card. The server room is behind that door. Everything is there. Financial records, client lists, photos, videos. Every transaction Robert has been part of for the past 15 years. Why should I trust you? Because I have 2 sons of my own. They're grown now. Safe. But I've spent every day since I discovered what Robert does imagining what I would feel if someone did those things to my boys. Her voice cracked. I couldn't stop him. I was too weak. Too scared, but I could document. I could wait. And now I can help you end him. Jack took the key card. Is your husband here? No. He got a call an hour ago. About the compound. About Marcus being arrested. He left immediately. My guess is he's running. Where? He has a private plane. Keeps it at a small airfield about 20 miles from here. If he gets to that plane, he won't. Jack swiped the keycard. The server room door opened. Inside rows of equipment, hard drives, monitors, years of evil documented and stored. Doc, Jack shouted. Get in here. I need someone who understands this stuff. Doc appeared in the doorway. His face went pale when he saw the equipment. What do you need? Everything. Copy everything. And then we need to make sure Harrison doesn't get to that airfield. Jack, we can't be everywhere at once. We don't have to be. He pulled out his phone. Ghost, you still there? Always. Harrison is running. Private airfield 20 miles from the ranch. Catherine Harrison just told me. His wife is helping you. Long story. Can you get someone there? Victor was quiet for a moment. I've got 4 brothers in that area. They were heading to the hospital. I can redirect them. Do it. Harrison does not get on that plane. What about local law enforcement? After what we've seen tonight, half of them are probably on Harrison's payroll. We can't trust anyone except our own. Understood. I'm making the call. Jack turned to Catherine. You're coming with us. Where? Back to the compound. To the DA. You're going to tell her everything you just told me. She won't believe me. She will when she sees what's on those servers. Catherine nodded slowly. For the first time, something like hope crossed her face. I never thought I'd be free of him. 11 years of living in that house knowing what he was doing, not being able to stop it. You have no idea what that's like. You're right. I don't. But I know what it's like to live with guilt, to feel responsible for something terrible that happened to a child. And I know the only way to survive that guilt is to do something about it. Is that why you're here? Guilt. My nephew was in that compound. My son died 5 years ago because I didn't listen when he needed me. So yeah, guilt is part of it. But it's more than that. It's about deciding who you want to be, what you're willing to fight for, what you're willing to risk. And what are you willing to risk? Jack looked around the server room, at the evidence of horror that surrounded them, at the boys being carried upstairs into fresh air and freedom. Everything, he said. I'm willing to risk everything. His phone buzzed. Text from Victor. Brothers at the airfield. Harrison's car just pulled in. He's making a run for the plane. Jack typed back, don't let him take off, whatever it takes. Understood. The next 15 minutes were chaos. State troopers arrived at the ranch. DA Patricia Chen was with them. Jack handed her the key card to the server room and introduced her to Catherine Harrison. This woman has evidence that implicates her husband in child trafficking going back 15 years, Jack said. She's willing to testify. Patricia studied Catherine's face. You understand what you're doing. Once you go on record, there's no going back. I've been going back for 11 years. I'm done. Then let's talk. Jack left them to it. He had somewhere else to be. He jumped on his bike and rode toward the airfield. 20 miles. 15 minutes of hard riding. His phone kept buzzing with updates. Harrison trying to board. Brothers blocking the runway. Security calling for police. Harrison offering money. Brothers not interested. Jack pushed harder. When he arrived at the airfield, the scene was exactly what he'd expected. 4 brothers had positioned their bikes across the runway. Robert Harrison stood beside his private jet, screaming at them while a pilot watched nervously from the cockpit. Do you know who I am? I'm the Chief Judge of the Montana Supreme Court. I'll have every one of you arrested. I'll destroy your club. Judge Harrison. Harrison spun around, saw Jack walking toward him. You're the one who started all this. The biker at the gas station. Marcus called me about you. Marcus is in custody, along with your brother-in-law, the sheriff. Your wife is talking to the DA right now. And about an hour ago we found 6 boys locked in the basement of your ranch. Harrison's face went gray. I don't know what you think you found, but I found children. Traumatized, starving children that you bought like merchandise. I found a server full of evidence documenting everything you've done for the past 15 years. And right now, about 3 million people are watching this conversation live. Jack pointed to his vest pocket where his phone was still streaming. Harrison's composure cracked. You can't do this. Do you understand the position I hold the people who depend on me, the institutions I protect? The only thing you've protected is yourself, and that ends tonight. Sirens in the distance. Getting closer. Harrison looked at the plane, at the runway blocked by motorcycles, at Jack standing between him and freedom. I can make you rich, Harrison said quietly. Whatever you want. Name your price. My price is watching you spend the rest of your life in prison. You're making a mistake. I have friends. Powerful friends. They'll come for you, for your family, for everyone you care about. Jack stepped closer, close enough that only Harrison could hear him. Let me tell you something about my family. My nephew spent 8 months in a death camp because of people like you. My son died because I wasn't paying attention. I've already lost everything that matters, so go ahead, threaten me, send your powerful friends, but understand this, I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of anyone you know, and I will spend every day of the rest of my life making sure people like you never hurt another child again. The police cars arrived. State troopers, not local. They weren't on Harrison's payroll. Robert Harrison, the lead trooper said, stepping out of his vehicle. You're under arrest for human trafficking, kidnapping, and conspiracy to commit murder. You have the right to remain silent. Harrison said nothing. His face was blank. Empty. The face of a man watching his entire world collapse. They put him in handcuffs, put him in the back of a police car, drove him away to face justice he'd spent decades avoiding. Jack watched until the car disappeared from view. That was something else, brother. He turned. Bones was standing beside him. 3 million viewers, Bones said. World record for a Facebook live stream. You're famous now. I don't want to be famous. Too late. Every news channel in the country is running this story. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, all of them. You're the biker who took down a corrupt judge. I didn't take down anyone. Tyler did. He's the one who escaped. He's the one who found help. All I did was answer the call. That's what heroes always say. Jack shook his head. I'm not a hero. Heroes don't lose their sons. Heroes don't fail to notice when their nephews are being tortured for 8 months. I'm just a man who finally did what I should have done a long time ago. His phone rang. Victor. It's done, Jack said when he answered. Harrison's in custody. I heard. The whole world heard. Listen, you need to get back to the hospital. Why is Danny okay? Danny's fine, but his mother just arrived. Sarah. And it's not going well. Jack closed his eyes. He'd been dreading this moment. I'm on my way. He rode back to the hospital, faster than safe. His mind was racing with everything Sarah might be saying, everything Danny might be feeling. When he walked into Danny's room, the tension was thick enough to cut. Sarah stood at the foot of the bed, tears streaming down her face. Tom, her husband, stood beside her. Danny was sitting up, his face hard as stone. I said I don't want to see you, Danny said. Why are you still here? Because I'm your mother. Because I love you. Because I made a terrible mistake, and I need you to understand. Understand what? That you believed strangers over your own son, that you signed me over to a death camp because I was inconvenient. It wasn't like that. The reviews were so positive. The website looked so professional. We thought we were helping you. You thought you were getting rid of me. Sarah flinched like she'd been slapped. That's not true. Isn't it? I was difficult. I was angry. I was making your life harder. So you found a place that would take me off your hands, and you didn't ask any questions because you didn't want to know the answers. Danny, please. I called you the first week. I told you something was wrong. You told me to trust the process. You told me I was being dramatic. And then they took my phone and I never heard from you again. Sarah's legs gave out. She collapsed into a chair, sobbing. Tom stepped forward. Son, we need to talk about this calmly. Don't call me son. You're not my father. You're the guy who found the camp online and convinced my mom to send me there. You wanted me gone more than anyone. That's not fair. I was trying to help. You were out of control, getting into fights, skipping school. We didn't know what else to do. You could have listened to me. You could have asked why I was angry. You could have tried to understand instead of just wanting the problem to disappear. Jack stepped into the room. That's enough. Everyone turned to look at him. Danny, I know you're angry. You have every right to be. But this conversation isn't going to help anyone right now. Your body has been through trauma. Your mind has been through worse. You need rest, not confrontation. She needs to know what she did. She knows. Look at her. She'll carry this for the rest of her life. But tearing her apart won't undo what happened to you. It'll just give you someone to blame while the real criminals walk free. The real criminals are in jail. Some of them. But there's a long fight ahead. Trials, testimony, lawyers trying to get guilty men off on technicalities. You're going to need your family for that fight, even the ones who failed you. And Danny stared at him for a long moment. You're asking me to forgive her. I'm asking you to survive first. Forgiveness can come later. Or never. That's your choice. But right now, today, you need to focus on healing. Everything else can wait. Danny looked at his mother, at the broken woman who'd sent him to hell with the best intentions. Fine. She can stay. But I'm not talking to her. Not yet. Sarah nodded through her tears. Thank you. Thank you, Danny. I'll wait. I'll wait as long as you need. Jack's phone buzzed. Text from Victor. Press conference in 30 minutes. Patricia Chen wants you there. Jack looked at Danny. I have to go. The DA is making a statement. She wants me present. More cameras. Probably. Danny almost smiled. You're going to be on every channel in America. That's what I'm afraid of. Uncle Jack. Yeah, thank you. For finding me. For not giving up. For being the person who showed up when I needed someone. Jack walked to the bed and took his nephew's hand. That's what family does. Even the ones who fail. We show up. We try again. We keep fighting until there's nothing left to fight for. He squeezed Danny's hand once, then turned and walked out. In the hallway, Victor was waiting. You ready for this? No. Good. Neither am I. Let's go be heroes. They walked out of the hospital together into the morning light, toward a press conference that would change everything. Behind them, Danny lay in his bed looking out the window at a world he'd thought he'd never see again. His mother sat in the corner, silent, waiting. And somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed as more arrests were made, more evidence was gathered, more pieces of a decade-long nightmare came crashing down. The storm was just beginning. The press conference lasted 47 minutes. Patricia Chen spoke first, laying out the charges against Marcus Webb. Wade. Webb Judge Robert Harrison and 19 others arrested in the past 12 hours. She announced the discovery of 23 bodies in the North Mine. She confirmed that 6 boys had been recovered from Harrison's ranch. She declared this the largest child trafficking case in Montana history. Then she introduced Jack. He stood at the microphone looking out at a sea of cameras and reporters. Millions of people watching live. His brothers lined up behind him. His hands were steady, but his heart was pounding. My name is Jack Brennan. I'm a welder, a veteran, a member of the Hells Angels Montana chapter. Last night, a 14-year-old boy named Tyler Mason crawled out of a death camp and wrote 2 words in his own blood. Save me. I happened to be there. My brothers happened to be available, and 70 children happened to get a second chance at life because of it. He paused. But this isn't about me. This isn't about the Hells Angels. This is about a system that failed. Teachers who filed reports that went nowhere. Police who believed adults over children. Doctors who didn't ask hard questions. Inspectors who signed off on paperwork without looking too close. Judges who protected predators instead of victims. His voice hardened. 70 children. 47 sold like property. 23 buried in mine shafts. And nobody knew. Nobody asked. Nobody cared enough to dig deeper when something didn't feel right. He looked directly into the camera. That changes today. If you're watching this, and you know a child who seems too quiet, too scared, too thin, too broken, don't look away. Don't assume someone else will handle it. Don't tell yourself it's not your business. Because the next Tyler Mason is out there right now. The next Danny Brennan is locked in some basement waiting for someone to notice. And the only difference between life and death for that child might be whether you decide to pay attention. He stepped back from the microphone. The questions came in a flood. Reporters shouting over each other. Cameras flashing. Jack answered what he could and deflected what he couldn't. No, he didn't regret breaking into the compound. Yes, he'd do it again. No, he didn't consider himself a hero. Yes, he believed there were more trafficking networks operating in plain sight. The press conference ended. Jack walked away from the cameras through a crowd of supporters and critics toward the parking lot where his bike waited. Victor caught up with him. The FBI wants to talk to you. So does Homeland Security. And about 40 different news networks are offering interviews. Tell them all no. Jack, I'm not a spokesman. I'm not a celebrity. I'm a guy who was in the right place at the right time. The story isn't me. The story is those kids. The story is the system that let this happen for 15 years. People want to hear from you. Then they can hear this: pay attention to your communities. Trust children when they say something is wrong. And don't wait for someone else to show up. Be the someone. Jack got on his bike. "Where are you going?" "Hospital. I promised Danny I'd be back before dinner." He rode through streets that felt different now. The same buildings, the same roads. But something had shifted. He'd walked into that gas station 12 hours ago as a man carrying guilt he couldn't shed. He was leaving as something else, not healed, not fixed, but maybe finally moving forward. Danny was sitting up in bed when Jack arrived. Sarah was gone. Tom was gone. Just Danny and the monitors and the weight of everything that had happened. "Saw you on TV," Danny said. "Yeah. You looked uncomfortable." "I was." Danny almost smiled. "Good speech, though. The part about paying attention. About not looking away. Meant every word." Jack sat in the chair beside the bed. The same chair he'd occupied 6 hours ago when everything was chaos and uncertainty. Now there was something else in the room. Something quieter. "I talked to Mom," Danny said. "I thought you weren't ready." "I wasn't. But she stayed, even after I told her to leave. She just sat there in the corner, not saying anything, not trying to explain, just being present. That's hard for her. Your mom always wants to fix things." "I know. That's what surprised me. She didn't try to fix anything. She just cried, and said she was sorry, and asked if she could stay." "What did you say?" "I said yes." Jack felt something loosen in his chest. That's a start. It doesn't mean I forgive her. I don't know if I ever will. But she's my mom, and she made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But she didn't know. She really didn't know what that place was. No, she didn't. Danny looked at his hands. Thin, scarred. The hands of a boy who'd been forced to dig in tunnels for 8 months. I keep thinking about the other kids. The ones who didn't make it out. The ones in the mine, 23 of them, the news said. 23. They had families too. Moms and dads who thought they were doing the right thing, who got the same phone call about runaways and accidents and tragic circumstances. And now they'll know the truth. Does that help knowing? Jack thought about his own son. About the questions that would never have answers. About the guilt that would never fully fade. It doesn't fix anything, but it's better than not knowing. Better than spending the rest of your life wondering what happened. Wondering if you could have done something different. Danny nodded slowly. I want to meet them. The families. When I'm better. I want to tell them what their kids went through. What they survived. How hard they fought. Because some of those boys saved my life. They shared food when we weren't supposed to. They warned me about guards who were worse than others. They kept me sane when I wanted to give up. That's a big thing you're taking on. It's the right thing. Those families deserve to know their children weren't alone. That even in the worst place imaginable, there was kindness. There was brotherhood. There was love. Jack felt tears prick his eyes. This boy. This 17-year-old who'd been through hell. He was already thinking about how to help others. You remind me of someone, Jack said. Who? My son, Danny. That's actually why your parents named you after him, you know. He was my sister's favorite nephew. I didn't know that. He had the same heart, the same way of thinking about other people before himself. It's what made him so vulnerable to the bullies at school, but it's also what made him special. Danny was quiet for a moment. Tell me about him. Your son. Jack closed his eyes. He'd spent 5 years avoiding this conversation, changing the subject, walking away when people asked. But sitting here with this boy who'd survived something his son hadn't, it felt different. He was 15 when he died. Sophomore year. Straight A student. Wanted to be a marine biologist. Spent every weekend at the aquarium volunteering, learning everything he could about ocean life. What happened? Bullies. Kids at school who decided he was different, too smart, too sensitive, too something. They made his life hell for 3 years, and I didn't see it. Or maybe I saw it and didn't want to believe it. I told him to toughen up, to fight back, to stop letting them get to him. Jack's voice cracked. He tried to tell me how bad it was, multiple times. But I was so focused on my own stuff, work, the club, life. I didn't listen. I gave him advice instead of attention, platitudes instead of presence. And then, one day he came home from school and went straight to his room. I figured he needed space, figured he'd come down for dinner, figured everything was fine because I needed everything to be fine. Jack wiped his eyes. He didn't come down for dinner. His mom went to check on him, and she found him. Danny didn't say anything. He just reached out and took Jack's hand. I've spent 5 years asking myself what I could have done differently. 5 years of guilt and rage and grief that never gets smaller. And the answer is always the same. I could have listened. I could have believed him. I could have shown up for him the way I showed up for you last night. But you didn't know. That's the thing about these situations. Nobody ever knows until it's too late. And then you spend the rest of your life with the knowledge that you could have known if only you'd paid attention. Danny squeezed Jack's hand. You paid attention last night. To Tyler. To all of us. Because I finally learned the lesson my son died trying to teach me. When a child asks for help, you help. You don't wait. You don't assume someone else will handle it. You don't tell yourself it's probably not that serious. You act. Immediately. Completely. Without hesitation. That's why you came for us. That's why I'll always come. For any child who needs help. For the rest of my life. Because every time I save someone else's kid, I feel like I'm making up for the one I couldn't save. You can't make up for it, Danny said quietly. That's not how grief works. I know. But you can honor it. By doing exactly what you're doing. By turning the worst thing that ever happened to you into something that helps other people. Jack looked at his nephew, at the wisdom in those exhausted eyes. When did you get so smart? 8 months in a tunnel gives you a lot of time to think. They sat in silence for a while. Not uncomfortable. Just two people who understood each other in ways words couldn't fully express. What happens now? Danny asked finally. Trials. Lots of trials. The DA says it could take years to prosecute everyone involved. You'll have to testify. Tyler will have to testify. All the boys will. I'm ready. It won't be easy. Defense lawyers will try to discredit you. Try to make you look unreliable. Try to plant doubt in the jury's minds. I've survived worse than lawyers. Jack almost laughed. Yeah, I guess you have. His phone buzzed. Text from Victor. Tyler's asking for you. Hospital room 417. Says it's important. I need to go check on Tyler, Jack said. You okay here alone? I'm not alone. Mom's coming back in an hour, and about 6 of your brothers have been rotating through the waiting room all day. That's because you're family now. Club family. We take care of our own. Even the ones who aren't members. Especially the ones who aren't members. That's the whole point. Jack stood, squeezed Danny's shoulder, and walked out. Tyler was sitting up when Jack entered room 417. His face was still swollen, but his eyes were clearer. More alive. Less haunted. You wanted to see me. Yeah. I wanted to say something, before everything gets crazy with trials and interviews and whatever else is coming. I'm listening. Tyler took a breath. When I wrote those words on the concrete, I didn't really think anyone would help. I'd been let down so many times. Teachers, police, doctors, everyone who was supposed to protect me just made things worse. I wrote "Save me" because I had nothing left to lose. Because dying while trying to get help was better than dying in that tunnel without anyone knowing. But someone did help. You did. A stranger. A guy in a leather vest who looked scarier than anyone I'd ever seen. And instead of walking away, instead of calling someone else, you dropped to your knees and looked me in the eye and said you believed me. Tyler's voice broke. Do you know how long it had been since anyone believed me? 14 months. 14 months of trying to tell people what was happening. And you believed me in 30 seconds. A complete stranger believed me when my own teachers wouldn't. Tyler, I'm not done. I need to say this. Because I've been thinking about it all morning. About why you were there. About why you happened to stop at that gas station at that exact moment. And I think I know why. Why? Because the universe doesn't let evil win forever. Because somewhere, somehow, there's something bigger than us that puts people where they need to be when they need to be there. And last night you were supposed to be at that gas station. Your brothers were supposed to be available. Everything was supposed to happen exactly the way it did. Jack shook his head. I don't know if I believe in that kind of thing. You don't have to believe it. I believe it enough for both of us. Tyler reached under his pillow and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I wrote something while I was in the compound. I kept a journal, in code so the guards wouldn't understand. But this part wasn't in code. This part was a prayer, the only prayer I had left. He unfolded the paper and read. If anyone finds this, please know that I tried. I tried to tell people. I tried to escape. I tried to survive. If you're reading this, and I'm not there, please tell my mom I love her. Please tell her it wasn't her fault. Please tell her I forgive her for sending me here because she didn't know. She couldn't have known. And please, whoever you are, don't let this happen to anyone else. Don't let more kids die in places like this. Don't let the bad guys win. Please, please, please. Tyler looked up. You answered my prayer, Jack. You and your brothers. You didn't let the bad guys win. Jack couldn't speak. His throat was too tight. I want to do what you do, Tyler said. When I'm older. When I'm strong enough. I want to help kids like me. Kids who've been abandoned by the system. Kids who are screaming for help while everyone walks past. I want to be the person who shows up. That's a hard life. I know. But it's the only life that makes sense after what I've been through. I survived for a reason, and I think the reason is this. Jack sat on the edge of the bed. If you're serious about that, I'll help you. The club is starting something new, a program. We're calling it Guardian Riders, motorcycle clubs across the country working together to monitor youth facilities, respond to reports of abuse, provide protection for kids who need it. We could use people like you. People who understand what it's like to be on the other side. Tyler's eyes widened. Really? You've got a few years of healing ahead of you first. Therapy, recovery, finishing school. But yeah, when you're ready, we'll be here. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just get better. That's your job right now. Get better, get strong, and then come find us. Jack stood to leave. Tyler grabbed his arm. One more thing. Yeah, my mom's here, in the waiting room. She flew in this morning. She's been crying for 3 hours straight. You should see her. I'm going to, but I wanted to warn you first. She wants to talk to you, to thank you, and she's intense. She's probably going to hug you for about 10 minutes straight. Jack smiled. I think I can handle that. Just remember I warned you. Jack walked out into the hallway. A woman was standing by the nurse's station. Small, dark hair, eyes that matched Tyler's. She saw him, recognized him, started walking toward him, and then she was crying and hugging him and saying thank you over and over while nurses and doctors and brothers pretended not to watch. Tyler had been right about the 10 minutes. 6 months later, Jack stood in a park surrounded by brothers and children and families. The sun was warm. The air smelled like barbecue and fresh-cut grass. Around him, voices and laughter and something he'd almost forgotten existed. hope. The trials had been brutal. Marcus Webb got consecutive life sentences, no possibility of parole. Wade Webb got 40 years for conspiracy and obstruction. Judge Robert Harrison got 60 years on trafficking charges plus another 20 for each of the 6 boys found at his ranch. His wife Catherine, who'd turned state's evidence, was in witness protection with a new identity and a chance to start over. The bodies in the North Mine had been recovered. 23 families finally had closure. Funerals were held. Tears were shed. And slowly, impossibly healing began. Pete Holloway, the guard who'd opened the gate, received immunity for his testimony. He was working at a youth shelter now, trying to make up for years of silence. Danny was walking again. Physical therapy 3 times a week. His legs were getting stronger every day. His relationship with his mother was still complicated, but they were working on it. One conversation at a time. One apology at a time. One small act of trust at a time. Tyler had been adopted. His biological mother, overwhelmed by guilt and unable to cope with what had happened, had voluntarily relinquished custody. A couple from Billings, the Castellanos, had taken him in. They were foster parents who actually cared. Tyler was going back to school in the fall. And the Hells Angels had kept their word. Guardian Riders launched 3 months after the rescue. Chapters in 14 states signed on. A hotline was established. A network of contacts was built. When reports came in about suspicious youth facilities or children in danger, riders responded. They'd already made a difference. A boot camp in Nevada shut down after brothers documented abuse during an unannounced visit. A foster home in Oregon was investigated after a club member noticed a child with unexplained bruises at a gas station. 3 more kids were rescued from a basement in Wyoming when a tipster called the hotline. It wasn't enough. It would never be enough. But it was something. Jack walked through the crowd, accepting handshakes and hugs and words of thanks he still didn't feel like he deserved. He found Danny sitting at a picnic table with Tyler and 2 other survivors from the compound. They were laughing about something. Actually laughing. "Uncle Jack." Danny waved him over. "Tyler was just telling us about his new school. He's already made the honor roll." "First time ever," Tyler said, grinning. "Turns out I'm actually smart when I'm not being starved and beaten. Dark humor. Nice. It's how I cope." Jack sat down with them. Around the table, faces that had been hollow and haunted 6 months ago were filling out, gaining color, gaining life. "I've been thinking," Danny said, "about what I want to do when I graduate. Yeah, I want to be a lawyer, like Patricia Chen, someone who actually fights for kids instead of against them. That's a lot of school. I've got time and motivation and a pretty good reason to stay focused." Tyler nodded. "I'm thinking about social work. Get into the system. Change it from the inside. Make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else." "That's a big goal." "We've got big reasons." Victor appeared at Jack's shoulder. "Got a minute, brother?" Jack stood and walked with Victor away from the tables, away from the crowd, to a quiet spot near the edge of the park. "What's up?" "Press wants a statement. 6-month anniversary of the rescue. They're asking for you specifically." "Tell them no." "That's what I figured you'd say. But there's something else. Something I need to tell you." "What?" Victor reached into his pocket and pulled out an envelope. "This came to the clubhouse yesterday. Addressed to you. No return address. But I recognize the handwriting." Jack took the envelope, opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper with handwritten words. "Dear Mr. Brennan, you don't know me, but I know you. My son was one of the 23, Michael Reeves. He was 14 when they took him to that mine. He was 16 when they killed him. For 2 years I thought he was a runaway. I thought he hated me. I thought I'd done something wrong that made him want to disappear. Now I know the truth, and it's worse than anything I imagined. But it's also better. Because at least I know. At least I can stop wondering. At least I can finally grieve properly. I watched the video of you at the compound. I watched you carry your nephew out of that tunnel, and I thought that could have been my Michael. If someone like you had been there 2 years earlier, if someone had paid attention, if someone had shown up, I'm not angry at you for not being there. You couldn't have known. Nobody knew. But I wanted to thank you for making sure it stopped, for making sure the men who killed my son will spend the rest of their lives in prison, for making sure other parents won't have to bury their children in unmarked graves. Michael is at rest now. We found his body in the North Mine. We gave him a proper funeral, and I told him about you, about the man who came too late to save him, but just in time to save so many others. Thank you, Mr. Brennan. Thank you for giving me answers. Thank you for giving me closure. And thank you for making sure my son's death meant something. Sincerely, Margaret Reeves. Jack read the letter twice. Then he folded it carefully and put it back in the envelope. You okay? Victor asked. No, but I will be. He looked back at the park, at the children playing, at the brothers laughing, at Danny and Tyler and all the others who'd survived. We saved 70 kids that night, Ghost. 70. But 70 families are still grieving children who didn't make it. We can't save everyone. I know. But we can try, every time, with everything we have. Because the next Tyler Mason is out there right now writing "Save Me" on concrete with his own blood. And somewhere a brother is about to find him. Victor put his hand on Jack's shoulder. That's why we ride. That's why we ride. They walked back to the party together. Jack found Danny and sat beside him. His nephew leaned against his shoulder. Not talking. Not needing to talk. Just present. Just grateful. Just alive. Tyler stood up and clinked his glass. Can I say something? The crowd quieted. 6 months ago, I crawled out of a hole in the ground and wrote 2 words that I thought nobody would ever read. Save me. And then something impossible happened. 180 strangers showed up in the middle of the night to answer a cry from a kid they'd never met. He looked around at the brothers, at the families, at Jack. I've been asked a lot of questions in the past 6 months. Reporters want to know how I survived. Therapists want to know how I'm coping. Lawyers want to know what I saw. But nobody ever asks the question I think about most. He paused. Why? Why did Jack stop? Why did the club come? Why did anyone care about a broken kid behind a dumpster in the middle of nowhere? Tyler's voice cracked. I think I finally know the answer. It's not because bikers are heroes. It's not because Jack is special. It's because sometimes when you cry out loud enough, the universe sends you exactly what you need. And what I needed was someone who would believe me. Someone who would show up. Someone who would fight for me when I couldn't fight for myself. He raised his glass. To the ones who show up. To the ones who believe. To the ones who refuse to look away. And to the children still waiting to be found. May they all have their own Jack Brennan. May they all have their own 180 angels. The crowd raised their glasses. To the ones who show up. Jack looked at Danny, at Tyler, at the faces of children who'd been given a second chance. And for the first time in 5 years, the weight on his shoulders felt a little lighter. He hadn't saved his son. He would carry that grief until the day he died. But he'd saved these kids. And they would go on to save others. And those others would save others still. That was how you beat the darkness. Not by pretending it didn't exist, not by running from it, but by lighting candles, one at a time, until the shadows had nowhere left to hide. Jack Brennan wasn't a hero. He was just a man who'd learned the hardest lesson of his life too late to save his son, but just in time to save someone else's. And that was enough. That had to be enough, because somewhere out there right now, another child was writing, "Save me," in the only way they knew how. And somewhere a stranger was about to notice. A stranger was about to believe. A stranger was about to show up. That's how the story ends. Not with villains defeated or heroes celebrated, but with ordinary people making extraordinary choices, with communities deciding that protecting children matters more than staying comfortable, with the knowledge that no matter how dark the world gets, there will always be someone willing to ride through the night to answer a cry for help. Tyler was right. The universe doesn't let evil win forever, and neither do we.